YouTube? Capital G here, giving you guys a quick deck profile of when I took the YCS Atlanta over the weekend. To no one's surprise, it was Salamancarried, but you might be shocked to know I actually considered some other decks like Trickstar and True Draco. The reason I decided to play Salamancarried was because it was the deck that I was the most comfortable with. I knew all the matchups, I knew what the side in, what the side out against certain decks, all the plays, etc., etc., and it was the deck I felt like I would do the best with. And on a team YCS, I didn't want to be that guy who was like, dragging the whole team down. So I was like, all right, this is my best deck and I'm going to go ahead and play it. I have made major adjustments since my regional 3 weeks ago. And honestly, the deck performed incredibly well throughout the entire event. Now, my team's record was 4-3 for the tournament. However, my record personally as the team member C was actually 6-1. I lost one match in round 2. That was to Simply Slim Yu-Gi-Oh! The Yugi tuber, he 2-0'd me. He destroyed me with Thunder Dragons. But outside of that, I basically 2-0'd every single person that I played. In fact, I played no game 3s throughout the entire day. Every other matchup outside of Slim that I played against, I 2-0'd. That included Sky Strikers, Trickstar, Guru Control, Spiral, Dark Warrior, a whole bunch of different decks, but I 2-0'd every single one of them, and the duels really weren't that close. But you guys came here for the deck profile, so let me go ahead and give it to you. And honestly, this deck is, I think it's pretty standard, but I think this is probably the best build of Salamancarried that I've made. 3 copies of Foxy. I told you guys that at my regional I ran 2. I felt like I wanted to see this card more often, and I wanted to see it legitimately in every hand that I opened with, so I decided to bump it up to 3. 3 copies of Gazelle, no explanation needed. Same thing with Spinny, no explanation needed. The Falco and the Jaguar is the same deal. These were all the Salamancarried that I ran. I decided not to run any crazy stuff like Raccoon or Foul. I had previously ran Raccoon at the regionals. Did not run Foul because I feel like the only real, the most applicable application for that card, or I guess the most common situation where that card is good, is for making rank 4s more consistently for your first turn. After that, it's really not all that good. And honestly, there's no rank 4 that's super good against Sky Striker. And even Thunder Dragons, they're really not hurt by Abyss Dweller all that much. So I decided to just run the core Salamancarried for the most part. I ran 2 copies of Lady the Bug. A lot of you guys might gasp and say, you're crazy, why aren't you running 3? Well, I said at the regionals that I took this card out going second a lot, and I did the same exact thing here. Unless I knew for 100% that I was going first, I sided Lady the Bug out every single game, because if you're going second, you don't want to summon this into an established field, especially with people playing Ghost Ogre. They'll Ghost Ogre it, or they'll use some type of disruption, and your turn will honestly just end. It's much better than normal summon Foxy, and if you're playing 3 of this plus 3 Foxy, you'll draw both of them at the same time way too often, and then you'll have 1 card stuck in your hand. So honestly, I think this ratio was good. I would not even consider cutting Debug from the deck, but 2 was perfectly fine, and I think I only resolved it twice throughout the entire tournament, but the results were still really good. I played 3 copies of Thanos, Fantastical Dragon Phantasme. To me, this is honestly the best card of the entire format. Every single time that I saw this card, it was just the absolute nuts. Luckily, nobody dropped it against me. I understand it's expensive, but by far, it is the best hand trap in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. It stops your opponent's Widow Anchors and Afterburners, and really, not only can it just stop your opponent from OTKing you, when you go second and you open with this card, it gives you a body on board, it gives you a +1, and then honestly, you don't even care if it dies because it's already paid for itself the second it hit the field. I told my teammates, I'm probably going to run this card in every deck that I make moving forward, probably until 2021, until Link Summoning's not relevant anymore. I think this card is just nuts right now. So we played 3 copies of the second best hand trap in Yu-Gi-Oh! That would be Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. This is just pretty much a staple. I mean, after Phantasme, I think it's the best hand trap. And obviously in Salamancarried, it's fire, so you can you can juggle it with Sunlight Wolf. 3 copies of Effect Veiler. I said at the regionals that I was running 2, and I thought that this card was so good that I should run 3 copies of, so I did. It was solid. I think I only sided it 1 copy out in 1 matchup. That was against Guru Control. Outside of that, it was super good against basically everything else. I decided to personally run 2 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. So really, I just played this card because I was like, I just want to stop multi-roll. And against Sky Strikers, if you stop multi-roll, you're almost certainly going to win. But you guys are seeing Ghost Ogre see a lot of play. And even though this card has super niche applications, it's really good every time you resolve it in those niche applications. Like against Saryuja Skull Dread. Yeah, they still get the draw. but they don't get the Link Monster on board, and also they don't get to special summon. This card is really good against like Summon Sorceress. You basically just like get rid of it for free. Even in Salamancarried Mirror Match, you can hit like a Lady the Bug, or if your opponent normal summons Gazelle, that's a great opportunity to hit your opponent with this. Even in the Guru match, my opponent used, he top decked into a copy of Hidden City, which searched him out the Guru. He set the Guru, then he tried to flip it face up, and I ogred it when he tried to activate the field spell to use the flip face up effect, and that just kind of wrecked him. So I feel like this hand trap lineup was like perfect. I wouldn't change anything, honestly. When it comes to the spells, this is standard. 3 copies of Circle. Every deck or every Salamancarried runs that. 1 Fusion of Fire, 1 Will, and then 1 Salamancarried Sanctuary. The only legit brick in this deck. I decided to go ahead and play Fusion of Fire. I thought I would play a lot of mirror matches. I was actually the only team member that did not play a single Salamancarried, so I had no mirror matches throughout the day. This card was okay. I only think I resolved it like once or twice in the tournament. Used it against Trickstars, and of course, like I OTK'd him with Violet Chimera. Anytime that you resolve this card, you should be killing your opponents. He had like Brawl Sword on the field, and he didn't kill me with it because I had like monsters that I dropped during his turn. Used his Brawl Sword for Violet Chimera, just ended up killing him. I think I would still play this card, even though I don't necessarily like opening with it. I pretty much hate that. But I would still run it moving forward because I don't think it's realistic to play, 8-9 rounds and not expect to play a Salamancarried mirror match. 3 copies of Called by the Grave. This card was pretty good throughout the entire day. I don't even use this on hand traps all that much. I mainly just use it to stop things like Ray or stop like the white and black dragons. If my opponent does use a hand trap that's really going to stop me, then I will use it. But overall, this card was like super versatile, so I decided to play it. And then a card that I did not like in the past, 2 copies of Desires. I think that I rolled my eyes when I first saw Salamancarried players using this. I was like, oh my god, you guys are so bad. But this card is actually ridiculous. The theory here is not to just hard activate this when you have your opening play. It's basically to try to combo out as much as you can and then activate this, so essentially to draw 1 or 2 defensive cards. Like even if you have like your standard Roar plus maybe like 2 hand traps, if you just get another hand trap out of your deck, it's perfectly worth fucking up your deck. You're going to get the one-ofs for the most part, like Jaguar and Sanctuary. You're going to get those out of your deck anyways through your comboing. The only other important one-of in the deck for the most part is like Falco. So I feel like this card was like amazing throughout the tournament. And yeah, when I drew like hand traps or even when I drew like starter cards from it, it was always really good. 2 copies to the traps, 2 copies of Roar, and then 1 copy of Rage. I personally like 2 Roar instead of 1. Mainly because I have no problem if I draw Roar, and I think it's like I actually want to draw Roar sometimes in my opening hand, because then it means I can just go ahead and I can dump Rage to the graveyard and search, and I open up really defensively, which Salamancarrieds always want to do. I don't like the artifact engine. I think it's trash. I think that players are going to realize it doesn't actually beat Sky Strikers, and that should be the matchup you're most concerned with. Yeah, it's good in the mirror match. Yeah, it's good against like Thunder Dragons, but Sky Striker players are going to destroy you if you like artifact them. It's not going to beat them. So I personally like to run just like regular traps. And then for my final 3 traps, I decided to run a Solemn Brigade. Yes, that's a Solemn Judgment. I told you guys I spent $10 on a Solemn Judgment just to get the Ghost Rare copy. These cards were like ridiculous throughout the entire weekend. Nobody saw these coming. Nobody played around them. And these 2 cards I think are just nuts. They're so definitive. This one can stop Red Reboot, which I didn't see any Red Reboots or Denkos, but they stop basically everything. Even in control matchups like Guru Control, they were really good because I could just use them to like stop normal summons, which is exactly what I did. Dude summoned, he had a Guru on field, and then he summoned the second one that he top decked. That was just like Solemn. Then I got rid of his Guru on field and just won. And these cards were really, really good. I would not cut the Solemns in any way. I understand now why the Japanese players were running them. That's the main deck, and we'll go to the extra deck. So extra deck is like super standard as well. We play 3 copies of Balinks. There's no explanation needed there. I don't believe you should run 2. I think you should run 3. Once you play this deck enough, you'll realize you only need 3 copies. 3 copies of Sunlight Wolf. I did get cherried. I played the Sky Striker guy in like round 6. He cherried me turn 1 twice, and I still 2-0'd him, so it didn't really matter. 2 copies of Heat Leo. 1 copy of Mirage Stallion, and since I play Fusion of Fire this time, I did opt to run I ran the copy of Violet Chimera. I dropped this guy from 2 to 1 because I had to make room for this, and honestly, there was, I think, 1 situation in the entire tournament where I wanted a second Mirage, but I just made Violet Chimera instead, and it was perfectly fine. To the other Link monsters, the non-Salamancarrieds, Update Jammer and Hita. This card I'm going to take out the deck because I did not actually summon it throughout the entire tournament. This was really good, especially when I got cherried against the Sky Striker player. I summoned this Kagari back from the graveyard, just beat him down with his own monster. Nightmare Phoenix, you will summon that a lot. And then Boil Load plus Abyss Dweller. This card is another one that I'm going to take out. This card is not nearly as good against Thunder Dragons as I anticipated, so I'm going to actually probably replace this with a different Xyz. And then Borreload, I did use one time in the tournament because my opponent made Borreload and didn't kill me, so I just Borreloaded his Borreload, and I was like, have fun with that. To the side deck, I ran 3 copies of Dino Wrestler Pankatrops, best side card deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! So you'll probably be playing this card until like 2021 as well. 2 copies of Twin Twister. I personally wish it was 3. I didn't run into any floodgates throughout the entire day. The Guru Control player had a lot of floodgates, but he didn't actually open with them. But just moving forward, I don't think it's realistic to play a bunch of rounds and not expect floodgates. Plus, you know, luckily I didn't run into True Draco, but I would bump this up. I played 2 copies of Evac. It's just, it's like my own little personal troll card. I sided it once against Slam. It didn't do anything. I got wrecked. But yeah, probably would not side that moving forward. I wasn't really sure what else to side. 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird. Did not side this in a single time. I think I'm probably going to move on from this card and not play it in the future. There's something about this card. I generally don't like neg ones in Yu-Gi-Oh! Pretty much under any circumstances. And honestly, even against decks like Sky Striker, you would, or even Orcus, like you'd much rather just have Phantasme because it does kind of a legitimate job in against the same type of matchups, but it's a +1. I guess the only matchup you'd want this against that you couldn't use Phantasme is against like maybe True Draco or something like that. 2 Chalice. In hindsight, this maybe should have been impermanence, but at this point, I'm not going to drop $80 on impermanence. Essentially, I just wanted a card when going second that could get rid of something like, or that could negate like an Inspector Border or at Fossil Dyna, some type of like those are like anti-meta cards or like stun cards. I wanted a card going second that I could use to out that, so I never sided this in throughout the entire tournament. 3 copies of Shared Ride. I think that this is my last side deck card. This card's ridiculous. You play against the Salamancarried mirror match. You play against True Draco, Trickstar, Sky Striker, just auto wins against any of those matchups if they don't Ash Blossom. Essentially, if your opponent is playing things like Terraforming or they're just running a lot of search cards or they do a lot of adding to the hand, this card basically is just game. It creates a situation very similar to Max C. Like, you're going to let me draw like 8 cards just to do your basic plays. And, you know, I think that even though I didn't side it because I wasn't sure in game 2 if I was going to play first or second against the Sky Striker guy. He did make me go first, which didn't matter. I beat him anyways. But yeah, I would definitely keep playing this card. And then for the cards that I would change about my deck, again, the Twin Twister, I would add another one in. I think I'll play one more copy of Ghost Ogre, specifically for the Sky Striker match. I believe that if you stop multi-roll, you basically stop their deck. Their deck is not going to outgrind you at that point. Artifact Lancia, I'm almost certainly going to play this against Thunder Dragons because I don't think Droll and Lockbird is as important. This card does a better job. This is going to be shifted in for the Abyss Dweller because this is actually really good against Thunder Dragons, Chaos Dragon Levineer, the Baby Dragons, any of their big monsters that they're trying to drop. Even something like Phantom Skyblaster, like none of those monsters work. And then they kind of have to go into an awkward play of like Nightmare Cerberus to try to pop this. But if you have Roar, you can just like Roar the Cerberus and basically they can't do anything. This card does a better job against Thunder Dragons than Abyss Dweller in my opinion. And then the one card I forgot would be, I'm also going to side a Salamancarried Pero, and that is specifically for time. Basically, it's the level 5 monster. You contribute it, gain 2,000 life points. You summon it you summon it in time if you're going first, side it in. All you have to do is make Mirage Stalio, summon it from that, and then you activate the effect and just win. But yep, the deck performed really well. Again, my final record was 6-1, and we'll see where we can go moving forward. But if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. I'll try to answer them. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.